So I would say something is going on. Last week, Andrea Jenkins, Tory grandee, quit the party to join Reform UK. And today, something equally sensational, actually I would say more sensational, has happened. Tim Montgomerie, you've seen him on telly, you've seen him on Talk, you've seen him on this show. 33 years, a prominent member of the Tory party. This is the guy that set up Conservative Home, which really is almost the sort of written and engine room, the forum around which the Tory party revolves. He was, of course, he's been a speechwriter for William Hague and then Ian Duncan Smith, and of course was appointed social justice advisor to the Prime Minister, then Boris Johnson, during Johnson's prime ministership. So what a story that today, after 33 years, Tim has decided to quit the Tory party and to join Nigel Farage's Reform UK. He's in the studio. I've allowed him in, even though he's wearing a Man United shirt.
Sorry about that.
Undermining this historic moment. Well, go on then, Tim, fire away. Why?
Well, look, Kev, it's sadness more than anything, because apart from a brief period when I left the Conservative Party over the Brexit treaty, I have been a member for over 3 decades. And it's not just a political alliance, you know, people may not sort of fully appreciate that. This is a friendship network as well. A lot of my friends, a family, are in the Conservative Party. So I've been tempted to do this for quite a while, and I've sort of pulled back from the brink, if you like, on a number of occasions. But last Thursday, we had, I think, one of the greatest indictments of a political party in modern times. Again and again and again, whether it was the Brexit referendum or general election, the Conservative Party promised to control immigration. They won power on the back of it. Brexit happened on the back of it. And we learned in those in that immigration data that was published last Thursday that while Rishi Sunak, Prime Minister, was talking about the Rwanda scheme, talking about controlling immigration, actually legal migration that they could have controlled, hit record levels. We almost had a 1 million people come into Britain in one year.
906,000 2 years ago, 728,000 last year, and we're supposed to celebrate. Oh, great, it's 20% down. So that's nearly 1.75 million people in 2 years that the Tories allowed in legally.
Yeah.
And that is a scandal, I think.
And they promised, I don't know if you remember, well, you will remember, you know, in 2010, they promised to reduce it to the net tens of thousands. And so there's all sorts of reasons why I, eventually taken this decision. And part of it, I think, is Trump's victory as well. What Trump has created in the Republican in America with the Republican Party is what the Tories should have created here. A working class friendly, traditional values, law and order respecting, immigration controlling party. That's what the Republican Party is now in America. And it could dominate American politics for the next decade as a result. Donald Trump has created that. After the Brexit referendum, Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister I used to work for, had the opportunity to do the same. But what did he do? He let immigration rise. He embarked upon the net zero agenda. Lunacy. And taxes rose. Basically, we turn around to all those people who voted for a different kind of economic settlement, and we punched them in the face politically. And so this has been coming for a while, but last Thursday I thought, OK, I no longer fit in the party that I've been associated with all of these years. And so I made the move that I did today and handed over my £25 to Nigel Farage. I also felt that Kemi Badenoch saw those figures coming, so she made a speech, a preemptive speech the day before to sort of in some way ameliorate the awfulness of the truth. Head them off at the pass kind of thing. Yeah. But even then, I thought it was pretty feeble. I think it was a perfect opportunity. If you're going to be a party of opposition, they could have really stuck it to Keir Starmer last week and said, right, she quite rightly, she apologised for this travesty. Tories' fault, absolute travesty. She apologised. But I think she should have then said, and this is what we will do when we get into power. This will be our numerical cap above which we will not go. Yeah. Instead,
just like Keir Starmer, she would not be drawn on a number. So once again, we have this bland approach to an escalating crisis. And I think that the direction of travel politically is going to go in the direction you've just gone. It's going to go more and more towards Reform UK, because Reform UK, unlike any other party, have firm and dramatic proposals about solving the migrant crisis. Yeah. The main parties have got no idea.
No, and I think you're absolutely right to emphasise that numerical commitment, because people don't believe these sort of bland words anymore. They want action, and people of every colour, people of every ethnic background want immigration control. This isn't an issue about race. It's an issue about the fact that house prices are going up. Young people can't afford to get onto the housing ladder. We have our public services under enormous pressure. A level of immigration has taken place into this country which no one has given consent to. And yet the political class have kept immigration numbers not just coming in, but actually increasing. And if we don't tackle this, Kev, my worry isn't just we'll have a political backlash, we'll have a breakdown in order in our country. I'm afraid we saw it a little bit over the summer, I'm afraid. And so this is an issue of grave consequence. And there's only one politician, I decided, who in the country was really talking about what needed to be done, and that was Nigel Farage. And so that's why I joined Reform today.
Well, it's a seismic moment. Have you spoken, or before you made this historic move, did you speak to anyone high up in the Tory party? Did you speak to Kemi or anyone like that?
Didn't speak to Kemi. I don't really have a relationship with Kemi, but I let Robert Jenrick know. I let various other friends know, just out of courtesy. I bet you Jenrick wasn't entirely unsympathetic, was he? Well, you know, he respected my decision, and you know, obviously didn't want me to take the jump that I have. But he said, I understand why you have taken the decision, and logical that you have. But no, you know, he's a committed Conservative, so he stays in the Conservative Party.
Yeah, but then again, there are two. I mean, I always thought it was a bit unfair the way people said about Robert Jenrick. Oh, you know, he used to be so, you know, establishment, and suddenly... Well, you're allowed to change your mind in politics, and I believe that his position now is genuine. And I believe he's the kind of politician with his ideas who would sit better in Reform UK than the current Tory party.
Well, I agree with that. And, you know, and I've made my decision now. I haven't done it with, you know, a large element of sadness, as I've already said, but I've now made my decision. And, you know, I've been my phone has sort of melted down in the last couple of hours. Lots of people are annoyed with me. And lots of people are saying to me, I've been thinking the same for some time. And, you know, in the last few days, since Andrea Jenkins defected to Reform last Thursday, they've had another 4,000 members join. So Reform, basically that's 1,000 new members each day. And I think the Conservative Party membership must be about 130,000. So Reform are now 104,000. One is declining, one is growing. I think we're probably a month or so away from a potentially crossover moment where Reform becomes bigger as a grassroots movement in British politics than the Conservatives.
Nigel Farage and his crew, including you now, have got the zeitgeist of the times. And we hear all the time, oh, well, what we need to do, we need to form, you know, an alliance between the Tories and the Reform UK so that we can have a sort of united right-wing front. Well, kind of. I somehow sense that isn't going to happen. And I also sense that I'm thinking Farage and Tyson, the gang, I think, do we need the Tories? That more and more people are coming to us. They're going to end up being the minnows, not us. And I think in the next 4 years, Elon Musk, who should not be dismissed as a fool, by the way, he's not a clown, he's an extremely clever man. Here's the reason he gave $200 million to Trump's campaign, partly because, yes, he's a right-winger, he agrees with Trump's politics, which I do too, because they make sense, they're logical. But also because Elon Musk is a businessman, and I think before a lot of other people, he spotted that Trump was going to win, because he spotted the direction of political travel in America. And I think that Musk, a very clever man, I'm going to stress that again, has spotted the same direction of travel in this country. And I believe he will give Nigel Farage $100 million to help this campaign. He's transformed the face of American politics, and I suspect that Elon is planning to fund the transformation of British politics as well.
It'll be a little more significant than my 25 quid. But whatever, you know, what you say, though, is absolutely true, Kev. You know, the fact is, I've been on the Jeremy Vine programme and everyone else and defending my support for Trump. And people say, well, why are people voting for that racist Trump? And I say, well, look, if you are an American, and for a start, I don't accept that Trump is racist, but if you're an American, you see cities like San Francisco, once great cities, San Francisco, destroyed. Chicago, being handed over to criminals and drug. You see your southern border, hundreds of thousands of people pouring into your country. You have no idea who they are. They could be
10 million
overall, yeah, hundreds of thousands every month. And then you have, in your own school, you have your kids being told, well, if you want to change gender, of course you can. And, you know, parents don't have any right to be involved. And Trump comes along and he says, no, 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 almost Thatcherite, to all of those things. Yeah. And that is what Nigel Farage, I think, is saying to the British people. We have a political establishment that's too timid to face up to the country's problems. Yeah. And Nigel Farage and Reform are facing up to those problems. And they're a work in progress. Of course they are. But they are going in the right direction. And it's why I've decided to nail my colours to their masts from today.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that we'll have the same pushback against this crazy wokery. The quintessential Kamala policy. If you want to zone in on something that alienated decent Americans, millions of the vast majority of decent Americans, it was this. One of her policies was that she expected taxpayers to fund trans surgery for male prisoners who wanted to change sex while they were serving sentences for things like rape and murder. Now, call me controversial, but I don't think that gelled with the average American. It's this kind of claptrap that will die a death, thank God, in America, because as Tim quite rightly says, Trump is saying enough, and we need the same here, and perhaps Farage, with the able assistance of Mr. Montgomerie, will do the same here in this country. I certainly feel we need it.